What do you think about having a citizens' assembly in the UK? I first heard about this from Rory Stewart on the Rest is Politics podcast, which I'm a big fan of, and I absolutely agree with it. As an innovation consultant, I'm all about thinking differently, shifting views, and changing the way that we do things to make things better for everyone, and thinking a little bit more disruptively. This applies exactly the same to politics. We're supposed to be a democratic country, but I think you can loosely call it democracy, because the decisions that are being made at a government level in Westminster rarely reflect the realities of what's happening on the ground in the public and the consequences of those decisions on ordinary people. The idea of a citizens' assembly is very similar to jury duty. If you can select random people from across the country to sit on a jury and decide whether somebody is guilty or innocent of a crime, if you can give them such huge responsibility, then I don't see why you can't do exactly the same thing from a governmental point of view when deciding legislation and what new laws to pass. You would still have an elected parliament and the system would still work as it does today, but you would almost have like a third house. So you've got the House of Parliament, the government, you've got the House of Lords. But if you had a third house which was made up of citizens randomly selected from across the UK, and they could have input on any new legislation that was passed, I think these new legislations would better reflect the will of society and also the tangible effects that it would have on people on the ground. So often politicians and governments, and even if they mean well, your local MP, are quite far removed from the realities of what might happen when they pass certain laws on people's lives, on people's work, on people's education, on their health, etc., etc. So having a citizens' assembly where you have randomly chosen group of people inform what that legislation is and make a decision by voting on whether that legislation should be passed based on whether it's good or bad for society, I think would be a really good idea and a better reflection of democracy. Let me know what you think about that. I'd love to hear your comments.